Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first webinar that we're going to do on the assistive iPad. Before we get going, I want to give a couple of disclaimers, a couple of introductions, and talk a little bit about how we plan on running these throughout the course of the school year. The idea behind this is we want to start to do a weekly webinar where we introduce apps in small, easily digestible chunks. We hope to go no more than about 15 minutes on these, so it's easy to sit down and do it on a weekly basis. We will archive everything that we do here so that you can go back and watch it again on our website. To find these on our website, it's education.uiowa.edu/iCater, and then you look at the webinars tab, and everything that we do will be up there. My name is Jim Stahoviak. I'm the Associate Director of iCater. Working with me is Jenny Anderson. She's one of our graduate assistants. She'll be answering most of the questions that you have via the chat box on the webinar here today. Also, if you have any technical questions about how to run things, feel free to shoot her an email. She's been the one that's been interacting with you via email over the course of the week. So she'll be the one that'll be able to kind of help you work out the kinks. We're trying to do things pretty quickly here today, so I'm not sure that we're going to be able to work on any real technical issues that you might have today. You're also going to have to bear with me a little bit. When we decided to do this with an iPad in a live setting, what we found was that it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. And I just lost my AirServer, so I'm going to have to pull that back up. There's only really one software. We're using a software called AirServer to display our iPad on the computer so that we can then share it in a live setting with you guys. So there might be a case of slow refresh rate, and that might just be your computer, your internet connection could cause that. Ours could cause that. But if it doesn't come up clear on here, hopefully it comes up a little bit clearer on the recordings that we're going to do, or that we'll have on our website in the coming days. But again, the plan is to do this every week at 3 o'clock. We'll highlight an app a week, and you guys feel free to type questions into the chat box. If they're simple, easy questions to deal with, Jenny will answer them on the spot. If not, she'll shout them out to me, and I'll try and answer them in a live format here. So that's kind of how we're going to do things. I will tell you also, starting a week from Monday, we're going to be doing live once a month. We're going to be picking a topic in assistive technology and doing an hour-long webinar on it. And this one's going to be on assistive technology considerations. So I'm sure you'll be getting email reminders from Jenny on that. But what I want to do is start by talking about some of the new features in iOS 6 that just recently came out. Some of the assistive features. So if you have not downloaded iOS 6 for your iPad yet, it's probably a good idea to do that. Although I don't believe it's going to work for the iPad 1s, but if you have an iPad 2 or later, update to iOS 6 because there's some good assistive tech features built right into the iPad in this. And we're going to start by clicking. I'm going to tap on Settings, and I will try and put my cursor on whatever I'm going to tap on so you can see that as well throughout the webinar. So we'll tap Settings, and we'll let that set up for you here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to make sure that I'm set on General, and that's where I want to be, and it's already set there. So I'm going to scroll down here until I find Accessibility. And here I see Accessibility. I'm going to tap on Accessibility. And there's several accessibility options, and we'll look at some of them over the course of the next couple of weeks. But I want to start with something here that's new within the iOS 6. I want to look at Speak Selection. So Speak Selection, if we tap on that, it's going to take us to an area where we can have the iPad set to read text out loud. And to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to where it's either, if it's slid to off, you're just going to take and slide that to on. And once you slide it to on, it's going to show you a couple other options. Right here is the speed. You can see on one end is a rabbit. On the other end is a turtle. If you take it closer to the turtle, it slows it down. Closer to the rabbit, it speeds it up. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit, and then I'm also going to show you this. if you want the words to be highlighted as they are spoken so that a student can follow along visually, you would take where it says highlight words and it's slid to off right here, just slide that button over to on, and you'll have the words be able to be highlighted as they are read out loud. The other thing that we have in here is the dialects area. If you look at this, if I tap dialects, what you're going to see is you can choose different dialects of languages here. So if we have text in English, we want it to read in US English. If we were in Australia, we might want it to read in Australian English. But we also have it, if it recognizes, if it sees Spanish text, it's going to read it in this case, Spanish from Spain, European Spanish, European French as opposed to French Canadian, and so on and so forth. If we scroll down a little bit, you'll see there are several languages it's going to automatically represent in our text. It's automatically going to pick that up in our text. So once we have this set, I'm going to go back up top here to where it says Speak Selection, and I'll tap on that. And I'm going to actually click my Home button, and I'm going to show you kind of how this operates in an internet site or something else that you might deal with. So I'm going to just open up my Safari browser down here, or let that catch up. And then I'll go and I'll tap on my Safari browser, and I just have something from the University of Iowa's website pulled up here. If I was a student with a disability and needed this text read out loud, I wouldn't, now with this new feature, I wouldn't need to get an app to do that. I can simply select the text that I want read out loud and then have it read and have it highlighted. To do this, I'm going to select text. So to select text, what I'm going to do is just hold down until that where it says bicycling is highlighted, and then let go. And we're going to see two little kind of bars on either end. The way that we use these is to select more text. So I'll grab the little blue bar on this far end here, grab that dot, and I'll just drag it over that entire paragraph. Now what I want you to notice here is because I have Speak Selection on, not only do we get the option for copy, we also get the option for speak. So I'm going to take my headset off and hold it above the iPad so you can hear this. And I'm going to tap Speak and have it read out loud.
Bicycling injuries represent a significant public health problem in the United States. Approximately 600,000 bicycle-related injuries are treated in emergency rooms each year.
So there we go. That's how that's going to read out loud. It's going to highlight. I don't know how well the highlighting translated into what you saw, but it goes through and highlights in light blue each word as it reads it for that individual, so the individual can follow along with what you happen to be doing at that point. So it's a little bit of a downside that you have to select the text that you want to read. It doesn't just dive in and read it for you. You have to select the text. And there are a couple other little things about it too. It works well in Safari on internet sites here. Another area that it works well is if I go back to my home page, and I'll let that refresh for you, and then I tap on Notes, it'll work well within Notes. I can go into a note that I have written here, and I can highlight a word, select that word, and select a little bit more, and then hit Speak.
Designed a responsibility rubric for students to follow before gaining access. Trial which rubric before writing it into the IEP.
So it'll read within your notes, it'll read within your emails as well. Now, where it starts to get a little bit difficult is when we start talking about reading books through this. If we go to look at iBooks, so let's say if I go to iBooks down here, and I want to read a piece of the iBook out loud, I'm going to choose here a sample that I have of Steve Jobs' book. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this and I'm going to highlight text just like I did within the website. And once I select that text and hit Speak,
based on more than 40 interviews,
you can see it reads it out loud, but it does not highlight as it goes through. And I've tested this in a few iBooks, and it does not seem to highlight within iBooks. It will read it back, but a lot of students need that highlighting component as well, and we're not seeing that within iBooks. The other area where we haven't seen that highlighting is if you pull something in, maybe through Dropbox, and you want to have that read out loud, that won't even let us select the text or read it. Also, if you look at, and I'm just going to slide over here for a second, and I'm going to open up, I'm going to show you, I've got several reading apps where we can download books from Kindle, e-reader, Stanza, Barnes & Noble. Any of those that we open up, it does not allow you to select the text to have that read out loud either. So really what you're looking at is notes, email, internet sites, those are in iBooks without the highlighting. But that really is a nice feature to have in here. It'd be nicer if it extended beyond some of those things into maybe reading a few other areas as well. But that's kind of what we're dealing with the speech option right now. I'm going to go back into settings briefly here and show you something else within the speech that's new. If I go back to, I'm stuck in, or I'm in right now, speak selection because that's where I left off. I'm going to go back and hit accessibility. And this time I want to point out this, speak auto text. I have that slid to on. What that means is that if you're typing something and it tries to guess or correct what you're trying to type, you see a little bubble pop up. It's not only going to have that bubble shown, it's going to read that bubble out loud so you can hear it as well. So that if you weren't able to recognize that, or if you were just looking at the keyboard and not really looking at what was being entered, you're able in that case as well to hear the word that you're typing. So we'll give you a quick demo of that. I'll just open up notes and I'll add a new note. And now I will start typing something here. Start typing H-E-L, and you hear there, you may have seen it pops up. You see that it pops up another word. I am going to put my microphone closer to the iPad so you can hear that read out loud as well.
Help.
You could hear there, it says help, and then I can decide if I want to use help or not, and I don't. I'm trying to write hello there, so I'll go back, add another L, and O. So what's nice about that, again, is if you're not paying attention to the corrections that it's trying to make, it's going to read those out loud to you. So at least you're able to see what they are. You're able to hear them as well. You get that audio feedback within speak corrections, or speak auto text. I want to take just a couple more minutes to show you one more thing. I guess if anybody has questions on any of the stuff that we've talked about so far, please feel free to shoot them into the chat box, and Jenny can answer or address them to me, or we can just kind of keep going and I'll address questions as they come up. But let me take a look at settings real quick again. And this time I want to go into this one down here, guided access. If I tap on guided access and make sure that it's slid on, what's going to happen here, what this option does is it allows us to lock kids into certain apps or lock pieces of certain apps from being used. So if you want them to use an app for an educational purpose and not be playing Angry Birds, they can't get out of the app that you set up for them when you have guided access on. And the way that you do that is you slide guided access to on, like we have here, and then we go to and we set a passcode. So I'm going to hit set passcode, and I'm just going to make mine real easy right now. I'm just going to hit 1111. Now I have to re-enter it. And so now my passcode is set. So now to activate guided access, we would go into an app. I'm going to go into a communication device app. I'm going to go into ProLoco to go. So make sure that that all refreshes and I can open up ProLoco to go. And if I just want my students to be able to work within this app and I don't want them to be able to do anything else, I'm going to tap my home button 3 times. The circular button on the bottom of the iPad, I'll tap that 3 times. And you'll see the option for guided access pops up on my screen. So if I tap guided access, this is what it shows me. If we look at the bottom, basically this means the hardware button is always off. So the students cannot hit the home button to get out of this. I still want them to be able to touch the screen, although I can take that off as well. And I don't really care at this point if they can shake the screen to undo. We'll leave that on also, but you could turn that off if you wanted to. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here at this point. I say I just want it so that they're locked into this app. I'm going to tap on Start. And now when I tap on Start, you can see it popped up there and it said guided access was started. So students can go through this and create things. They can use it to say things. They could say, they could tap into the hi bye, and they could use it to say hello. But as soon as they try and click out of this to do something else, if I tap the home button, you can see it pops up there. It says guided access is enabled. And you have to triple click home to get out of that. So let's say a student triple clicked home. If I do that, you'll see it pops up where I have to enter my passcode. So unless a student knows your passcode, they can't get out of the guided access piece. I'm going to get out of the guided access piece for just a second here because I want to show you one other way this can be used. So I'm going to now, you see there's an option I can resume the guided access up here, or I can end it if I go over here. And I'm going to just go over here and tap end it. So just one more thing to show you and then we'll get you out of here for today. The other way that you can use guided access is if I say I open up a website and I want my students to read a particular article, and we want them to read this article and this article only. We don't want them to be able to use the address bar to go somewhere else. If I go and hit the triple click button, if I triple click the home button again, and I choose guided access, I can now draw a circle around areas that I don't want students to have access to. So if I'm on the internet and I want them to read this article but not be able to leave this page, I can take and draw a circle with my finger around the address part of the iPad, of the top of the iPad there. And you're going to see a little hatched area go over where I drew that circle. If I want to make that larger, I can drag on the corners and make that larger, but I'm okay with that because that's where I want it to be. Now if I go and click Start, see the student has access to the web page. Make sure that's refreshed for you. The student has access to the web page. They can read, they can scroll down, they can click on other links, but when they go up here to try and click on this and tap on this, nothing happens. They're not able to go in and change the web address there. So those are kind of the two ways that guided access can be used as well. I'm going to triple click home to get out of guided access again. I'm going to enter my passcode. And I'm going to hit, after we'll give it a chance to refresh for you, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit end. And I'm out of guided access at this point. At this point, we're a little bit over the 15 minutes that I wanted to give you. Again, we want this to be short, easily digestible, 15-minute resource tools for you, webinars that we do on a weekly basis. If you've got what you wanted out of today, you're free to go. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to hang around for a couple minutes and answer some questions. But that's a wrap for what I was looking to show you here today. I really appreciate you attending. I hope you're going to find this helpful, and I really think it's something that is going to be good for the rest of the school year, once a week on Wednesdays. And please tell your friends about it, and we'd be glad to share what we're doing here with as many teachers, professionals, parents, students as we can across the state. Do we have any questions? Okay, if you don't have questions now, again, you're always able to email myself, james-stachowiak@uiowa.edu anytime during the week. Jenny Anderson, also it's Jennifer-Andersen@uiowa.edu, and we'd be glad to answer any questions you have throughout the week. Thanks, and have a good rest of the week, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday.